Hey travelers, Mag and I here on day 269 of our trip around the United States. Today, we take on our second day here in the state of Kansas, and it is a cold, windy day out here today. We barely want to get out of the car and do this thing, but we are not going to allow the weather to stop us. Wind and cold, so be it. We're going to continue on. Today's route has us covering 380 miles as we continue our march west across the north edge of the top of the state of Kansas. Right now, we're located just outside of Cawker City. From here, we're gonna head in and we're gonna go see the world's largest ball of twine. I know, it's silly, but I love seeing the world's largest of any type, and that ball of twine certainly counts. From there, we're gonna continue west until we hit Phillipsburg. Once we get there, we're gonna drop down south just a little for a couple counties we need down there. And once we get to Hill City, we're gonna come back up to the northwest corner of the state. There, we're gonna chase after one of the oldest geocaches in Kansas. Not the oldest, that's Mingo, but one of them in the northwest corner. After that, we're gonna drop just a little bit south and bring our day to an end at Sharon Springs. The forecast does not look like this wind or this cold is going anywhere today. Every moment outside the car is miserable, and Ai-chan is telling me right now she wants to get back in the car more than anything else. So we're still going to be getting our targets, and we'll definitely still be getting those virtuals we're chasing after today. But anything that's going to have us going more than a few hundred feet from the car is probably getting cut unless it needs to stay on the list. We're going to do our best to stay warm, cover our miles, and get all the targets we need today. So let's get out there and see what our second day of Kansas has in store. Come on, let's go. We begin our morning along the north shore of Wakanda Lake and Glen Elder State Park in the very small Cawker City with a population of less than 500 people. Despite its small size, there are many oddities to be found here, some of which are quite big, including the world's largest ball of twine, currently measuring with a 46-foot circumference using 8.5 million feet of twine for a 27,000-pound ball. But those measurements continue to grow with each passing year. Frank Stover had originally began working on this ball all the way back in 1953, setting the Guinness World Record, which he lost 4 years after his death in 1974. Since then, the community has hosted an annual Twine-a-thon to take back and keep the record. With our day now winding up, we spin our way into Osborne, the county seat of Osborne County with a population of about 1,300 residents. Founded in May of 1871 by settlers from southeast Pennsylvania, the settlement was named for Vincent B. Osborne, a Union Army veteran of the American Civil War. While in town, we were hoping to swing by the local library to find a geocache, but it turns out the librarian was out sick today. On the outskirts of town, we make a discovery that has me both celebrating a location-based achievement and lamenting the loss of benchmarks once again at the Geodetic Center of North America. For 75 years, this served as a survey reference point for the entire continent. I start the day with the world's largest, and now I'm at the Geodetic Center of North America. It's like Christmas in March. Passing through the very small town of Portis, we make just one quick stop to visit a memorial to the creator of Porky Pig. But that's all here, folks. Not too far down the road, just a few miles outside of Gaylord, we run across a miniaturized Statue of Liberty, erected by the Boy Scouts of America. She commands a pretty impressive piece of real estate from the top of a rise with a 360-degree view around. Smith Center, like many of the other small towns in this area, only has one geocache in it, a virtual located at Wagner Park. Standing proudly over this park is an old Dutch mill which can be traced all the way back to 1879. This is one of only 2 mills of this kind still standing across the state today. From the windmill in Smith Center, we blow into Phillipsburg, the county seat of Phillips County, with a population of about 2,300 people. Organized in 1872, this city was immediately declared the county seat due to its central location, even though the first settlers didn't arrive until well after the original establishment. As we progress west through our route for the day, we are harried by the winds at every step. But by the time we leave Phillipsburg, they grow more intense, with small drifts of snow dancing across the roadway, guiding us on our way into Stockton, the county seat of Rooks County with a population of about 1,500 people. It is well worth facing off against the increasing cold, wind, and snow to pay our respects at the Veterans Memorial here, the most impressive we would see all day. The Rooks County Veteran Memorial consists of 6 stone tablets facing inboard toward a central black monument. The inscription on the center of the monument reads, "Lest we forget," as a gentle reminder to keep the memory alive of those who have served. The 6 stone tablets do exactly that by providing a listing of all Rook County veterans and the wars that they served in. On the way out of town, I had a good laugh seeing the gusts of wind on this mural, as if they were painting a picture for us.
It's not just mentally difficult to get out of the car for each geocache. It's literally physically difficult to get out of the car. Come on. Let's do it.
There were some pretty clever hides today, which are always great, but clever hides tend to take a little bit longer, and when you're trying to move fast and stay warm, they can be a real pain. I wasn't about to let the wind defeat me any more than I was the snow, and as the snow began to accumulate on the ground, we just kept geocaching our way through our route. I was very happy to discover that most of the caches I chose to pursue were hidden in a way that was not affected by the snow, which my fingers greatly appreciated. Somewhere along the way, the forecast of heavy winds and snowfall turned into a forecast of a full-on blizzard directly in our path. Oh well, the roads are still traversable, so we continue forward into Nicodemus with a population of 14 people. Established in 1877, this very small community is named for the biblical figure Nicodemus. It is the only remaining Western town established by African Americans during the post-Civil War Reconstruction period. The plows and salt trucks were both hard at work, keeping the roadways traversable, and I was more than happy to stick my hand out the window and give them a big thumbs up every time I passed. By the time we reached Hill City, the county seat of Graham County, with a population of about 1,400 people, every stop we would make became a calculated decision. While it was easy enough to pull into an icy parking spot in the middle of the downtown area, as soon as you were off the main road, the snowbanks made it a risk to park your car anywhere. This meant that we skipped not only a lot more geocaches than we normally would have, but also signs welcome us into cities and other interesting sights along the way. With conditions growing steadily worse, the last thing we wanted to risk was getting the car stuck for any reason.
I'm not sure I'm feeling the Sunflower State vibe here today, but on a warm, sunshiny day, this would be probably pretty beautiful.
We weren't about to let a little bit of snow stop us from making our finds in the counties and pages though, even if that meant having to dig into the cold white stuff until we found the treasure at the bottom of the pile. Better still were geocaches that were visible even through the snow, although a few of those were frozen into place and took some effort to remove. While I may not exactly be a big fan of it, I have geocached in the snow before on several occasions, including on this trip. But this was the first time that I have ever geocached right through the middle of a blizzard. When I stumbled across this gadget, it had me questioning whether I'd be willing to spend the time to figure it out. But, of course, I was.
Success. Even with this blizzard numbing my brain a little bit, I was still able to figure out this gadget. This covers our last county and page for the day. Now we're going to retread ground that we covered before to get to our ending in Goodland.
Fortunate enough to make it all the way out through the other side of the blizzard, we stumble across the Cherry Creek encampment. The iron monuments standing here are in memory of the Cheyenne and other Indians who had survived the massacre at Sand Creek on November 29th of 1864. Having successfully passed through the worst of the weather conditions for the day, we decide to head to the far northern edge of the state to visit the Arikaree Breaks. Here, at the furthest north edge of the state, you can track down Arikaree, not only one of the oldest geocaches in Kansas, but one of the oldest geocaches in the world, having been hidden back in May of the year 2000. All right, that is it for our day. We started the morning in Cawker City and got to visit the world's largest ball of twine. It was a cold, windy morning to kick things off, and we were hoping things would improve, but they didn't. They got so much worse throughout the day. The wind continued to pick up, the snow started to get heavier, and by the time we reached Hill City, we found ourselves striking right into the heart of a blizzard.
Fortunately, the roads were salted, the plows were running, and as long as we stayed on the main highway and hiked off when needed to from there, we were able to make all of our county and page target finds for the day. We did a lot more one and dones today than I would normally ever do. Every single county and page target that we found once we got to about Hill City was a choice. It was a strategic decision of which one we were going to find to make sure we qualified and continued on down the road. And we did it. By the time we made it to this far northwest corner of Kansas, we had pushed through the center of the blizzard, and the conditions around us were significantly better. By comparison, it's still miserable out here. Tomorrow also looks like it is going to be a cold and windy day, but at least the sun's going to come out and it should start warming up from there. Either way, as long as those roads are traversable and we can make it safely, we will. Thank you guys for joining us today as we progress through the heart of the blizzard here in the northwest corner of Kansas. Like this video, subscribe to stay tuned for daily updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.